welcome HPE Vice President and General Manager of Mission Critical Systems, Randy Meyer.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and it's great to be here. And it really is cool to see 5,000 people all gathered in one of my favorite cities in the world. Now, I live in this area, so I'm biased. But talking about the future of computing, because I'll tell you, running a mission-critical systems business, more and more we're seeing, how do I take where I've been over the last decades of things and deliver that in an open source world? And I'll tell you, this part of my business grew 60% year over year in the last quarter. So it's happening, and you all are making it happen. So it's cool to be a part of that. One of the things I think is fascinating, and everybody here has seen this, how much the market is being disrupted by all different sorts of things, right? I don't have a media library anymore. I have Netflix at home, right? I pay for things with my watch. If I'm going around San Francisco, it's not hailing a taxi, it's going Uber or Lyft. Everywhere we look, things that we used to do are being disrupted, in many cases by players we never even heard of 5 or 10 years ago. The world's changing, and guess what? All of us are driving the IT infrastructure that helps that change, and it's a mindset change. It's about speed. It's about different ways of doing things, and it's about how do you turn an idea into revenue and profit in record time. If you don't think your industry's being disrupted, it is. And even if you're here and even if you're working for Netflix, somebody else is trying to disrupt you. So it happens faster than we think. The thing that we see happening is it's causing businesses of all sorts to have to transform in different ways. And there's really 4 main themes that we see going on. Everybody's saying, in my data center, in my IT infrastructure, how do I transform that into this hybrid infrastructure? There's not one size fits all. I've got different data in different places. I want to leverage the assets I have. I want to leverage the cloud. I want to deploy it quickly. I want to move in all different sorts of ways. And how do I do that? How do I do it right now? They're also saying, I got to protect things. Security is the biggest thing on people's minds, whether it's securing your handheld device, a PIN pad when you're checking out of a retail store, protecting the digital assets that you have within your business from insiders, from people outside. I can't talk to anybody these days that isn't saying security is a fundamental part of my job. It's not an add-on, it's engineered in. It's also data-driven. I'll talk a lot about this. It's not just the structured data we've dealt with for years. It's how do you take the unstructured data, the location data, the things that are being generated by the Internet of Things. How do I match and marry that all in a way that I can run my business faster, generate new ideas, and do things I didn't even know were interesting until I had all that data in one place? And then the last thing, truly, it's about workplace productivity. Work's not a place, work's a thing these days. We're expected to be productive on tablets, on phones, in airports, in hotel rooms, and yes, in the office too. How do you make that all work for people? Those are the 4 big themes that we see going on, right? Transform, protect, empower, and enable. And they're all intertwined. If you're an IT manager today, all those things have to be in your thought process. And you're doing it in a context, really, that IT has to become a value creator, right? It's not about, I build this and I sit there and I build the next thing. It's got to be quick. The revenue opportunities are out there. Somebody's going to find a way to do it. The first person to figure out how to put that new capability in, right? Imagine if you're Uber versus Lyft. Somebody figuring out the best way to pay somebody, the best way to offer a tipping solution, the best way to get cars in the right place to service markets that they maybe couldn't before because they're a little further out. they're going to establish a foothold there, and they're going to go leverage that. So you'll see that competition going on. Time is the new currency. It's you got to move fast. The businesses don't wait. Time is where it's at. How do you deploy things quickly? How do you take an idea and put it into production right away and realize the benefits of that? You know, we call it DevOps, but in reality, it's taking time and turning it into money. But by the way, and this is kind of where I live in the world, in this mission-critical space, always on, global, always connected is expected. All of us just believe that our phone is going to have a data connection all the time. It's just going to work. Earlier today, we had a little rehearsal in here and then went to have lunch before the session started and didn't know where the place was. None of us had looked at a map because, of course, I've got Google Maps right on my phone and I say, where is it, right? Anybody here, I'll just do a quick show of hands. How many people here have looked at a physical map, a paper map, in the last 3 years? Okay, I found the people who work for Rand McNally all showed up and sat together over here. So not very many, right? So you look at that, and by the way, I'm a map guy, so I'll put myself there. That's the kind of change that we're seeing going on in the world that's there. What it means is that the digital core becomes central to this, right? And when I think about what a digital core is, it really is this convergence of the transactional world, right? I pay for something, I invoice something, I get a bill from somebody, I want to go move some goods through a supply chain, all the transactional things that we're used to dealing with. And the analytics around that are now combining. It's not just that I want to make a payment. It's that I'm in a location and my watch or my phone knows exactly where that location is. Somebody could leverage that data. The fact that I'm in my car and crossing the Bay Bridge at the same time every day, guess what? Somebody could take that IoT data and map it to something else and offer me discounts on my commute if I'll shift my commute time. All of these things are happening, marrying the transactional data that's there with the analytics that are coming from within a business, from within a Twitter feed, from IoT, whatever it might be, marrying those things together, and they get married into the critical business processes. Because we started with the video. Technology today isn't about infrastructure and data centers and cloud. It's about people. Somebody wants to pay for something. Somebody wants to store and retrieve their picture. Somebody wants to put up some cat video on Facebook, right? I won't ask how many people have done that in the last 3 years. Whatever it is that matters to you, IT's personal. It's about getting something done. It's about getting it done now. That's a critical business process. If you're trying to serve that, it's got to be always on. It's got to work. It's got to be real time. Combine those critical business processes with massive amounts of data, and applications become services. It's not a big monolithic, right? When I was a young guy a long, long time ago, every application was monolithic. It's now a service. It's now quick, and it's got to be deployed, and we'll come back to this a little later. It can't be one size fits all. We've got to go work in an environment that says this application wants to live in this architecture because that's its SLA, that's its demands, that's what it needs. That's what real-time business in an always-on world is all about. It's this digital core of all the different assets that you have coming together, and it's moving really fast. If you think about it, one of the key things we hear from lots of people is I have all this data in my business. How do I monetize that? Can I use it to create new products? Can I use it to sell to somebody else who then could turn that into something that goes with my products, right? Can I go in a way that allows me to go fast, to be agile, to respond to new things? My salesperson's in front of a customer and has a great new idea that that customer would like to buy. Can I find out quickly if I could get that and build it through my development process and get it through my supply chain for that customer before somebody else comes up with that idea? And I will tell you, business continuity is more important than ever before. If a salesperson is out in front of a customer running their sales order entry application on a tablet, and he can't get to the inventory data and quote that customer delivery date, the guy with the next appointment's going to get the order. If you're trying to go somewhere online and buy something, and you can't get a confirmation or know when it's going to ship, you'll go to the next retailer online and buy that. We expect that to work all the time. By the way, we expect that to work in this new ecosystem of things that's happening. It really is no longer one size fits all. One of the things I think about Hewlett-Packard Enterprise that's important is we look at the world as a collection of workloads, right? In some cases, you want, just give me the simplest way to go run a branch office. In some cases, you say, I have this flexibility, I'm deploying things all over the place, I need infrastructure that I can have be one thing today, something else tomorrow, and as quickly as possible adapt to that. I might say, I need something that never ever fails and never loses any data. There's this whole gamut. One size doesn't fit all. Start with the workload. What's the business problem? What are you trying to accomplish? How are you trying to help your customers do something or accomplish something? In that context, what's the best deployment model? But guess what? It's all got to be software defined, it's all got to be flexible, and it's got to live in this open source, cloud native kind of environment. It's huge for us, right? We've just made huge announcements with Ansible. Docker, right? Docker is going to be one of these cool things when you look at what's going on. I've even Dockerized my Unix business. Believe it or not, there's going to be people that want to go leverage those kinds of capabilities for their existing infrastructure. OpenStack, huge opportunity, and as a company, we want to be the infrastructure people that work across this entire environment. Leverage our partnership with Red Hat. Open source is driving the way the world's looking at this, from the application to the specific workload that you're running, how you manage it, and then the infrastructure you deploy it on. Flexibility is going to be what's important, and it really is. If you take nothing else away from this, one size doesn't fit all. If you look at all the different things going on in your business, there's lots of different opportunities, whether it's whatever kind of workload it could be. Think hard about what the service level agreement is, what the customers, how they interact with it, what the cost profile is, and how fast it changes. All those things will drive a different viewpoint, but they've all got to work together. They've got to be unified. So let's talk a little bit about some customers in terms of what they're actually really doing. You see my family portrait up there with all the different things that we do, but some really cool things happening with customers moving into this new way of doing business. So Statens, SI, they're based in Norway. They're a government agency. They're part of the tax agency, actually. They collect payments, fines, fees, taxes for 35 different government agencies. And they're actually now, they've moved to where 90% of their payments are coming in online. This is a customer who'd built their environment in a Unix world. They migrated using our Superdome X technology, big scale-up capability on Red Hat Linux. They got a 10x, 10 times performance improvement in processing that. And they additionally took 30% of their data storage cost and collapsed it out because they were able to commonalize the data, deduplicate it, and say, much, much faster. 10 times improvement with a third less storage for a government agency. That translates to real savings for them. So, really cool example. One of my favorite customers, again, Pella. If you're not familiar with Pella, they're based, believe it or not, in Pella, Iowa. Being a Midwesterner, I grew up in Minnesota. Pella is halfway between Ottumwa and Des Moines. So if the maps guys back there, you guys can go figure out where that is. Not a huge customer, but they make high-end custom windows and doors. It turns out, I had no idea, configuring a custom window, there's something like 1 billion different permutations of size, shape, glass, framing, finish, all those different sorts of things. They had in their Unix environment this massive configuration tool that would take orders, that would do all different sorts of things, and allow them to run that and go into their manufacturing plant and build your custom window for your development, or for a developer, a bunch of custom windows for the houses they're building. They moved off of that Unix environment into a Superdome X running Red Hat Linux, running an Oracle database in this case, and they saved 45% of their software licensing cost between moving to open source software, moving to database in the Red Hat environment. Massive savings for these guys. Had the same service level agreement, and you know what they did? They took the savings and they reinvested it in things like giving their salespeople tablets, in going and doing new online things in stores where you could configure that. Cool example of saving money on the back end and then reinvesting it right into how they do business, how they take new ideas and turn those into revenue and capability fast. So you would never think that a window and door manufacturer would be at the front edge of innovation on that. But Jim Thomas, the CIO there, really is. Incredibly smart, incredibly savvy, and driving real value for his business. Now the last one, Hypo, is a banking conglomerate based in Austria, and they have banks throughout Europe. They do core banking processing for these guys with a partner called Temenos. They were running on IBM mainframes and IBM Power Unix, came in and said, we want to move that into a Red Hat environment on your Superdome X products. We need big scale. We need to be able to do that. In doing that, they saved 78% of their maintenance costs. And they're doing it in a way that they're getting the same service level agreements that they were used to in that world. Here's an example of a customer moving into the modern world, leveraging open source capability, leveraging the HPE and Red Hat partnership, and doing it in a way that it turns into real business benefit. If a bank can do it, other people can do it. Two examples of how we see the world changing. This is the current model where we see a lot of customers talking to us around, okay, I got my business processing on one side, and then I feed my analytics, and I go do analysis on this, and people have built applications like this for years, and okay, it's out there, how do I deal with all of that? One of the key trends that's going on, everything's moving into memory. The ability to put things into memory, the ability to have persistent memory, the ability to collapse that says, we're going to watch business processing, analytics, share the same data. It's 30 times faster. Getting it in where I can go do the capability that I have offline and do that against the online data, I make better decisions. I make real-time decisions, and I'm going to reinvent how a lot of my business processes work. This isn't possible without leveraging the power of the architecture and infrastructure things we can do with the things that Red Hat has done to make Linux more powerful, more capable, more scalable, and more resilient. It's a partnership. We got to work together to make that happen. By the way, we see that same thing happening in the data center infrastructure. People have lots of assets in their data center today, and they're saying, how do I unlock this? How do I unlock the value of the database services that are there? How do I leverage open source software, OpenStack? How do I take that? And by the way, I also want to have it be able to connect to things that are going to live in the public cloud, right? And you'll hear in a few minutes from our friends at Microsoft, the things that they're doing and having that go back and forth. This is the development model. We're starting to see more and more. I've got assets. I want to leverage what I have. I want to deliver on my service level agreements, and many new things are going to be living out in the public cloud. How do I marry those? Walk away with knowing that the partnership between Red Hat, between HPE, the people we have who know how to do this, it's happening now, and it's moving faster than you can imagine. As I said, this is one of the areas that we're seeing that truly is the fastest growth in the business that we've got. So, as I finish up my time here, I really want to thank everybody for being here. Hopefully have a great time at the party tonight. Enjoy San Francisco if you're not from here. It's fabulous to be a part of this revolution that's going on. We're watching the world change. We're watching things go at light speed, and it really is. It's about accelerating the possibilities and changing how we think about what's possible and how fast we can get there. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.